Sean Paul ain't from Jamaica.
Every
He from
time
the
we play
Bronx.
the song.
There you go.
Why? Pause. No Diddy. Blaze the fire. The righteous fire. Yes, and let's get straight into it. In recent times, there has been some debate on Sean Paul being the king of the dancehall. And after I look into it, people, the debate is something that has been going on for a while. Even been covered on YouTube years ago. And sometime in a more modern time. I plan to discuss some of the opinions surrounding the king of the dancehall. Watch and critique one of the episodes of Let's Be Honest podcast. Them cover some of the more relevant points. What people don't normally talk about. I will also speak of other candidates for the dancehall and ultimately give my opinion, if Sean Paul should be king of the dancehall. Today we'll be also starting a new series, The King of the Dancehall. This series, we want to go through the nitty-gritty and uncover who was the top during each given time, We break down different time periods, Yeah, man. We try to see. Because in my belief, they do have a king reigning forever. Even in this Bob Marley thing. I don't believe you have one king just reigning, ongoing. The king dead and him still reigning. That's not practical. You have other kings come up after that king, and kings, even in reality, changes over time and them do surpass death. So with great pleasure, let's kick it off. Sean Paul, Mr. Dottie, Mr. Shonda Paul, Mr. Just Give Me the Light. Yeah, one of Jamaica's greatest musical talent. Certainly one of the top 5 wealthiest Jamaican artists, dancehall artists. Now, I know many will say, Sean Paul is, at least top 2. Him and Shaggy. But when you think about dancehall, people forget a bag of names. Kings like Junior Gang, who up there with Shaggy and Sean Paul in terms of money and wealth. Now before we get into it, let's take a quick look on the Let's Be Honest podcast. As they covered similar points to that of the mainstream, Most people thinking of this King Sean Paul topic.
Being the king of dancehall and Kartel the new king of dancehall. But why was Sean Paul never the king of dancehall? Because him are really forefront of dancehall music. Because if you think about it, when you say dancehall in the world, it's a Sean Paul. Yeah. Sean Paul a platinum singles, platinum albums.
I remember like seeing Sean Paul on the TV every time.
What? Even like, verses. When the verses are going, Sean Paul, they're trending worldwide as well. Yeah. If you let me say, so why isn't Sean Paul
getting the credit?
Yeah, or why is his name not in the conversation at all?
I guess.
Or is it a Jamaica thing?
I think it's a Jamaica thing, but where you don't know light skin and back to they don't want to really get a utility. And I guess they could have put it that way where you don't know other than from Beanie Bounty, every other really top Jamaican dancehall artists are really from the ghetto. You see me?
But they're not consider Shaggy.
It does come from the ghetto, but Shaggy come a foreign and do film thing and get film bust and all that stuff. It really never start from the ghetto. You see me?
But from the ghetto.
He is from the ghetto, but his music not really start a foreign. You see me?
Okay.
So I say, feel like a real Jamaican artist. I guess them like when it start from the dirt, from the ground up.
Yeah, that's mud.
So like them say,
what about Shaggy coming from the ghetto? Sean Paul coming from uptown.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So even get the respect he deserve where Beanie and Bounty, them in the ghetto in the streets with the people them and them look about up.
Okay.
Forget them start. So them I see from young to them say, yo, you want the king? Cause we see him come from this and them just say Sean Paul. You see me?
They would. I is that case look at Sean Paul light skin. Right. And he doesn't look Jamaican.
Literally.
Baby Sean light skin.
Classism.
Bro, them see Baby Sean from over something there. I grew up and I do him thing, right? From the dirt up, them I see him. Dirty light skin boy right up and down around them.
And the depth of Sherlock.
It would be that right down at Sherlock. So I don't really about to have light skin. Cause I know light skin people not get it, you see me?
Well, the first thing me register them say, Beanie Man was king, then Kartel. Why was Sean Paul never king? And we could answer that in many ways, But first, let's break down the reasons they listed. And reasons a lot of people would have say, I saw it go for real. Well, the most prevalent one we know, classism and colorism. There is always this thought, that Sean Paul isn't held in a certain heights, because I'm wealth and tone of him skin. If I'm supposed to be totally honest and unbiased, I would say wealth. Let's say the wealth is more of a hindrance than the skin tone. And even in the video, you might hear one of the guys, saying the same thing about Sham. Him did raise in a, Sherlock, and was more accepted as such, despite him light skin. To even further prove the narrative they're wrong, the king of dancehall, the king of reggae. And you don't know, reggae is an even more black conscious kind of music than dancehall. And the king of reggae is half white, Robert Nesta Marley. And it's just a thing, it's not, that's why I'm saying it's about the wealth and less about the street credit. Because even Bob Marley's sons get more street cred than Sean Paul, despite them being rich from birth and coming into the game with them dad influence, which made it easier. People still look on Sean Paul, more. So it's not necessarily skin color, because even Bob kids, them are high color kids too, and them rich too. But the history of Bob, I guess them work with the history more. But the skin color is a whole heap of brown popular dancehall artists. I don't think the skin color is it. But you really find a wealthy guy get through in a dancehall, especially in the modern days. You have the Russian and you have the Sean Paul. That's all years ago. That's our next story for going on, our next video for make. And those wealth and how them get into the game. In my opinion, Sean Paul wasn't considered as king for various reasons and valid reasons. Despite being one of the most successful artists out of Jamaica for sure, his musical talents drifted, to him experimenting in many different genres of music. To the point where he, wasn't even considered a dancehall artist or even from Jamaica. Here's a quick video. You remember him on the Breakfast Club and Charlamagne asking, where he's from.
Now we got a special guest in the building.
Shut up, Paul!
Charlamagne swears you're Puerto Rican, but I tell him that you're Jamaican.
That's my first question. You have to dispel this rumor, Sean Paul.
I heard the interview with Beanie Man, bro. It's all good.
Are you Jamaican or are you really from the Bronx?
He's Jamaican.
Sean Paul ain't from Jamaica. He's from the Bronx.
There you go.
But anybody that knows anything about reggae knows that Sean Paul is from Jamaica. So
yeah, I would hope so by now at least that I made a market at least in that little dent of the industry right there,
And
that's an understatement. I saw that you the #1 pop artist in the UK.
They might mix with the people them with sound raga same way as the Trinidad people them saying I one song. All I hear is raga. I hear them singing. Yeah, that's how some people hear. So them hear even different language and them just think of the same thing. So it get confused sometimes. Also, would have noticed that he mentioned being a pop artist, not a dancehall artist in England. I remember back in the days in Florida, early 2000s, we used to love Sean Paul, me and my cousin them. But when I buy him album and you go in a Walmart or so, you have to check the pop section, not the reggae section or the dancehall section, but the pop section. And I'm almost sure I see him with set up. Well, I don't know if CD still a sell, but I'm almost sure wherever his music is not necessarily classified as dancehall. Maybe reggae, but not necessarily dancehall. And as a quick note about the money discrimination in dancehall, a lot of people wonder why, but it's a lesser talk thing, you know. A point where, boy, it's a sticky topic. But in the dancehall space, despite the conversation, you know, of talent, it's an industry secret that it is much easier for the wealthy, like Sean Paul or a Russian, to make it into the industry. You know? Payola play a huge part in a Jamaican artist rising to the top. Me know this by personal experience. Yeah man, payola. So when the industry know that you were rich from before you came in, it's almost like everybody who know the truth and know how payola and them thing they set up now. So you is not even talent till a producer pick you up. You could have just pay your way in. And that is a factual thing with Sean Paul. I mean, I am not saying he's not talented, very talented. As I tell you from back then, I was a huge fan, still a huge fan. To be honest, not keeping up with him because I'm not in the dancehall circle, but huge fan of many of his songs. But being wealthy before you got into the game casts a huge shadow of doubt of how you boss and how you come in. And we all know the back history. That is for a different video, but the back history of him and Mr. Vegas and stuff. And you know, Mr. Vegas was the broke one and he was the money one, and them do some tune together and them do go on good together, but eventually the rift did go on. As I say, in a different video we cover that. Another factor that might hinder him from getting the Dancehall King title is the lack of involvement in the ongoing dancehall scene. For example, most people you hear name get called upon Dancehall King, them clash proven. That sound like Sean Paul? Most of them have local influence and have whole heap of young artists that them bring to the light. Check Bounty Killer, Vybz Kartel, prime examples, with many dozens, if not over 100 artists coming directly under the two artists them name. Yeah man, them bringing them forward. So by now, you know, I hope you just see why maybe Sean Paul is not being considered for the king of the dancehall despite his many accomplishments. And you know, food for thought. Can you rule as a king in another land? Can the dancehall king be absent from dancehall? I would say no, you know. But we hail Sean as one of the top Jamaican artists, if not the best, in terms of financial gains, in terms of, you know, achieving his goals, in terms of surpassing the status of many Jamaicans. But in all honesty, it's not solely dancehall that gave him that. And, you know, a man like Vybz Kartel, you would have said it's 100% dancehall and got to the heights he got to. Even if it's a lower heights, which he still has time to get to that height, because people forgetting, you know, Kartel is probably about 10 or 15 years behind Sean Paul in terms of his career. He wasn't around when Sean Paul was, you know, huge. So he has time, and I'm not saying he is the king of dancehall, but between Sean Paul and Vybz Kartel, you'd definitely have to give a Vybz Kartel who is 100% in dancehall from start till now. I can't tell you till finish, but from start till now, you can see why he is dancehall. And the amount of artists, from the Black Rhinos to the Shebas to the Gaza Slims to the big popcorn that Vybz Kartel alone bring out. Many more, but I don't know how much I could list from Sean Paul. That is, of course, he would have influence in people's, you know, career, and I think he was responsible for bringing out Chi-Ching Ching. But you can understand the much less influence in dancehall than the names that are listed before. Yeah, man. So that is my 2 cents on that.